All right, how's everyone doing? This is That Strumming Show. I'm Phil. This is Joe.
Hey.
And have you ever showed up to church and only your bass player and your drummer has showed up and you're the guitar player? What do? Well, have we got a show for you? You showed up to church and you've only got a trio, drums, bass, and guitar. You've arranged all your songs for the acoustic guitar and the piano and the pads and all that stuff. What do? That means you have to arrange your songs all over again. First off, what is arranging? For some of you, that might be a new concept. So arranging, some of you might be thinking, oh, well, that's verse, intro, chorus, verse, intro, verse 2, chorus, bridge, chorus. That is the arrangement of a song, but a lot of people call that a song map as an alternative term. We're not going to talk about that today. What we're talking about is the arrangement of the instruments. What do they do? When do they play? All that stuff. The first thing for arrangement is arrangement starts with knowledge. There's a few things you need to know, with know being the root word of knowledge. And this, I would say this first thing is really the golden rule. Know that not everyone needs to come in right from the top.
What do you mean about that, man? I like to come in right away.
There's so many times where I've had a playing situation where it's just like the drummer's like, okay, first song, 1, 2, 3, 4. Everybody's in. And it's like, oh, no, it doesn't always have to start that way. Sometimes when it's a big, high energy song, yes.
Yeah.
But if it's like, hey, we're going to do a ballad. No, it doesn't need to be a power ballad or,
Absolutely.
you know.
It's like all the people who sing with me. Mm-hmm. I just made a basic rule for them. You don't sing verse 1. They don't sing verse 1, and that automatically builds a little bit of dynamics.
Yeah, and that's the point. It's learning how to layer. It's okay to have some musicians, some vocalists step out for a section of a song, come in, maybe halfway through. There's a lot, if you, like, so many times I've heard good bands where they're, like, verse 2 comes around, the bass player steps out for the first half of the verse, and then maybe he slides in, or he just comes in for the second half of the verse, and it's like this lift that happens musically. And it's awesome. And all it is a bass player's coming in.
You see a trend in a lot of worship music where the first chorus is a down chorus.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting. Hosanna, for example.
Big culprit
it's come in, boom, boom, boom. Then it's out for the very first one.
Yeah.
Lion the Lamb does a very similar thing.
Yep.
Coming in, very first chorus is actually a down chorus and makes a huge difference.
Yeah. And it what layering allows you to do is, we're going to touch on this, but it allows you to build dynamics. It gives you a place to go. If you start at 10, you have nowhere to go but down. So that's the first thing, is just knowing that you don't always have to play right off the top. You don't always have to play every section. But
play each section with a purpose.
Right. There's got to be a rhyme and reason for what you do. If there's no reason, it's just like, oh, well, the two guys on YouTube said, don't play every section, so I'm just going to cut out. It's kind of not a good application.
Folks out to cut out with style. I'm not knocking on too many Bethel people, but I've seen a lot of videos, and I was going to do it. Someone asked me to do a guitar tutorial, and I was like, okay, well, I'll show you how to play the acoustic part. But I watched the video, and it's a pad part, and so the acoustic player literally was walking around chewing gum, and he just wasn't even there. You're out for a reason. It's called a rest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think part of the reason why musicians feel like they have to play, because when they're not playing, they don't know what to do with themselves. It's like, hey, you know what? Turn off the volume. If you got a volume pedal on your guitar or whatever, pull it back or pull down the knob and just worship in the moment.
Absolutely. Now, earlier Hillsong stuff I saw, they used to have like 13 guitars on stage and you heard one.
Yeah.
But they're all worshiping and going for it.
Yeah, and they're leading by example.
Yeah, absolutely.
But, I mean, we're not Hillsongs.
Yeah.
And
we got 3 people this Sunday.
Right. So it's what do you do? So it's
Absolutely.
know when to come in, know when to stay out, and find something to do. Help contribute to the moment of worship when you're not playing.
Absolutely.
Whether it's just singing along, lifting your hands, whatever. How do you help still facilitate?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Number 2, know your musician's skill level. What they can do, and sometimes more importantly, what they can't do. There was.
I'm a bad bass player. I don't know why you have me playing bass today, but
Well,
have fun.
I'm stretching you and I'm growing
Sure, why
you.
not?
Yeah. So there was a time where I had prepared a worship set, got to the Thursday night rehearsal, and I was on electric. My guitar player on acoustic. I wanted him to do kind of this specific picking pattern, and he's not getting it. And we go through it. I'm trying to coach him, helping him, encouraging him, still not getting it. And I'm thinking, he's not going to have this for Sunday. There's some musicians where where it's like, okay, it's something, you've thrown something new at them, and it's taking them a little bit to adjust, but they're going to go home, they're going to learn it, and they'll be rock solid for Sunday. Other musicians, not so much. They might need a month to get to work on it, and you've got 3 days. Knowing your musician's skill level, what they can do and what they can't do, really can help you avoid having to rearrange a part on the fly like I did that time. It makes for good prep. And knowledge is everything. So if I know that Joe can pull out a crazy part that I throw at him, I'm good. If I'm questionable about it, maybe I still come with that part, and maybe I already have a plan B in mind as to what's an alternative part that's maybe, I hate to say it, dumbed down, but what's a less technical,
down. I like the stripped
down or a less technical version of what I want them to do, so that you can still get that across. Because what happens is, eventually your worship set, you start scrapping ideas because people can't do it, and it's like, well, now we just have, chord, and it becomes bland.
You lost the essence of the song. You know, these people have spent a lot of time writing these riffs, writing these lyrics. If you only produce just the lyrics without the riffs, there is something missing. And people will gravitate to the words. We're worship musicians, but we're musicians that, I want to stay true to the song.
Yeah. So, what is the purpose of arranging? We just talked about what is arranging, but why do we do it? Why do we need to do it? And one concept that I've really ruminated with over the years is serving the song. We all come to worship God. We all want to give him glory. And that means putting our best foot forward, playing hook lines, playing the parts. Some people think that, if I play a solo, if I play a hook line, or I do some fancy part, I'm drawing attention to myself, and therefore I'm taking away from the moment of worship and the why we're here. But God wants us to use all of our skill, all of our abilities, and so it means playing those parts.
Yeah.
And honoring the musicians who wrote it.
Right. People have put a lot of time and effort in creating these parts. I know what it's like to be in the studio, and we have a good producer, Adam Miner, who's just a great guy of teaching me how to make parts. And so I would spend time writing the parts. Obviously said, probably here in the studio isn't the part to write those parts, right? But you need to write the parts, not just chords. An arpeggio, it's not really a part. Okay, it could be if it's tied to something else, but I was just relying on some of that as, this is the base of the song,
right?
And the melody or the vocal take care of everything else. And so he started really getting me to think about parts. And so after I created that and how much work it is, now when I hear people who've made these licks, I'm like, okay, this is what they've gone through to produce this. It is there for a reason. It is meant to glorify God, is meant to serve the songs, gives a base for that lyric to have the context.
We also arrange to help emphasize lyrics.
Right.
Giving a lyric, we do a part to emphasize and give context to
Absolutely.
A particular line of lyric, so
Or even like sometimes we can't get enough exclamation in there, and so like a riff, like a big shot just at the end of a lyric is that exclamation point, right?
Yeah.
You know, whatever that shot is, that is like that. You know, hey, like, we're just putting an exclamation on, you know, Christ is the King, exclamation point.
Absolutely.
You know, without that, you know, maybe
it's like Christ is King. So, serve the song, give emphasis to lyrics, and then also breathing new life. Some of the examples we're going to do later on.
Yeah, we're going to do a lot of examples today.
Yeah. Part of it is I deliberately chose some older songs. So, songs that are a few years old because all the
2006,
churches,
brother.
Yeah.
10 years.
10 years.
Hosanna.
Yeah. We've done sometimes we've done these songs for years. Sometimes, you know, the songs become tired, become old.
This is the way we play it. We play it this way every Sunday. It's that song.
Yeah.
It's just how it's done.
You become a robot. It's like, oh, what's the song? What's the song map? Oh, it's going to be this because we've always done it like that. So we use arranging to breathe new life, especially with hymns.
Yeah.
You know, hymns, there's some hymns that just stand the test of time, and you don't always have to have a church organ.
Yeah.
You know, you don't always have to strip it down to just acoustic.
Sure.
I think Paul Balash, it's like every album he seems to come out with, do a hymn, and he's just revitalized the hymn with the arrangement. He's changed nothing lyrically or melodically. It's how he's arranged it. And and he's come up with some great stuff over the years that I've just really enjoyed.
Me too.
It's very inspiring. So yeah, breathe new life. All right, so number 3, know how to utilize each instrument in the band. You don't have to know how to play every instrument, but it's very good to have a general knowledge and a range of what an instrument can do. So if you don't play drums, but you're the band leader or you're the worship leader, you need to give direction to your drummer. So learn how to speak drummer talk. You know, boom, crack, boom, boom, crack. Boom is the kick, crack is the snare. Yeah. And say, hey, you know, I got this drum beat in my head. You know, boom, boom, crack, boom, boom, crack. He said, cool, boom, and he can do it because if you just take some time to learn general vernacular, then great. Yeah. It makes his life easier. It makes your life easier and allows you to get more done in a shorter period of time.
Just a topic on there, especially when I'm going to give tempo to someone, or if I'm going to be giving how much of a swing we want to put on that. And what I've been doing a lot lately is any of the songs with good swing on it, I'm like, if it's going to swing it. And so I try and make it really clear that we want to be intentional with some of these, these how I'm communicating with the drummer. Yeah. You know, if you're wondering why your drummer isn't getting the beat that you want, it's because you couldn't communicate.
Yeah. And that's huge. Communication is just what makes everything work. So yeah, know what each instrument can do. And also with that, you know, guitar players, we've got pedals for electric and stuff like that. So kind of go up to your guitar player and look at his pedal board and be like, hey, that's cool. What does that pedal do? What does that do? You could say, oh, that's a tremolo pedal. Can you play it for me? I'd like to know what that sounds like. You might not use it in that worship set, but in a worship set down the road, you might be thinking, hey, you know what? The guitar player had that tremolo pedal, and that'd be a cool effect to emphasize in the verses of this song. So then you could show up at that rehearsal and say, hey, for this song, can you use that tremolo with some distortion on the verses? And cool, okay. And now that's an arrangement aspect of, you know, something different.
Yeah, we love our pedals.
Yeah, we love our pedals, and you know, we're always looking for ways to use them.
The worship leader said I get to use it.
Yeah, you know,
back in the day, I've probably been about 15 or so. I had a phaser pedal. I loved it so much, and we'd be doing all these songs. You know,
You did the jet phaser, did
all
you?
All the time.
Yeah.
Where's
the airplanes coming from? That's just chill. So yeah, know what is possible. Your keyboard player, if he's got a rock organ with a Leslie, know what that is. Know how to use it.
Sure.
So yeah. That's knowing how to utilize every instrument on stage, because knowledge is power. Number 4, dynamics. We won't talk a lot about this because you guys probably know a lot about dynamics, and I'm sure we've talked about it. We talked about it on the acoustic video in various ways, but
you got to say it every time.
Yeah, exactly. If you think of a scale 1 to 10, 10 being, everybody's going full throttle, and 1 is it's pretty much a cappella. Know that, hey, you know what, for verse 1, we should come in at 3, then bump it up to 5 for the chorus. That way, when the bridge comes, we can go to 7, and then that last chorus, we can go full throttle to 10, and learn how to bounce around, and things like that. One thing I do want to note is that the smaller your band member, so the fewer band members you have, the more drastic your dynamics should be. So if you've got a 3-piece, drums, bass, guitar, then when you're down, be right down. Maybe it's just the drummer's going on the hi-hat and the bass player's driving the chord structure.
This is important too, because I'm primarily an acoustic player on Sunday mornings. What'll happen is I find I have to run a compressor on my acoustic because when I go down quiet, the drums are still kicking in and stuff. You shouldn't have to be running a compressor on acoustic. Acoustic is supposed to be a wide dynamic range instrument. And so training the band, okay, like we really need to pull down on this verse, because it's so easy to overpower an acoustic guitar.
Right. And so when you're communicating with your drummer about that, knowing the drums, you could say, can you just go to hi-hats and accent where the snare would be? Therefore, you still have you still got a groove, but dynamically you've dropped it down. And so when you're small, you're small. When you're big, you're big. And when you've got multiple people on stage, know that you've got more levels or more steps of dynamics. So
more people, it's just going to get louder.
Exactly. And so, if you're a guitar player, like let's say you're on acoustic, if you're bringing it down, go to finger picking. When you're going full throttle, you're doing alternate strumming, and you're going all out. Just know how to play with the dynamics.
All right. Well, a little camera change.
Technical difficulties. Yeah. You gotta love it. All right. So number 6, learn to dissect songs. This was something that I learned in school, and it's just taking a song, listening to it, grab a piece of paper and a pen, and just make a subheading for every new section that you encounter, even if it's a section that repeats. So if you got intro played twice, you have intro 1, intro 2. Next time the intro comes around again, that's intro 3. And you just keep numbering it higher and higher. And so what you're doing is once you make those headings, you're listening to what's going on. And the goal of this is to expand your vernacular and your arranging library, because intro 1, the guitar might just do, whole note strums, but then intro 2 might go to more of a solid rhythm pattern, and it's elevating things, and it's building. So that's something that you could employ. Listen to what the drums are doing. Listen to what effects are the keyboards playing, what the electric guitar is doing.
Yeah, let's talk someone through. We'll play Lincoln Brewster's Today Is the Day. This is a song that you practice a lot.
Yes.
And so maybe just talk through what you hear, okay?
Yeah.
Here we go. Can you hit your volume? No, actually it's fine.
So you got vocal. Drums is straight 2 and 4, solid rock beat. Guitar's doing hook line. Bass is just following the chord progression. You got that keyboard pad up high. And you got just little guitar riffs just filling in little gaps.
Sewing things together.
Yeah. Like that right there. And the guitar's just chunking away on a single note kind of idea. And it's just simple drums and bass, just grooving, just creating space and dynamically being low. And now they're a little bigger. More vocalists are coming in.
Tambourine.
Yeah. It's amazing what a tambourine can do.
Yeah. All right, brother.
Yeah. So
yeah,
you're just listening for the various elements, and just seeing what the difference is. Hear how they're using dynamics. Hear how they're using effects, and know that hey, somebody's stepping in, somebody's stepping out. The tambourine doesn't need to be playing all the way through.
That's what my in-ear monitors are for. I had a line of like tambourine people in front of me, you know.
What tambourine people? Yeah. We've all encountered tambourine. So, now that we've talked through those 6 elements, hopefully you guys have really been informed. We're going to play through a couple songs. And, you know, the first song we're going to do is Hosanna by Hillsong. This song is 6 years old, or 10 years old.
10 years old now.
So right back from the top of the video, I said, you know, we need to breathe fresh life into some old songs. We've done this song hundreds of times, if not thousands. And we always seem to get into that robotic, here's how we do it, this is how we always do it. So if you've got a trio, drums, bass, guitar, what do you do? So, one thing that I would do is typically how normally play it is the bass is following the chord progression, but he's just playing eighth notes. The drummer is doing eighth notes on the hi-hat. I would say, hey, in a trio setting, let's make it a little more aggressive. Let's our dynamics be bigger. So bass is going to do 16th notes without rushing. The drummer would do 16th notes as well, but what drummers have a tendency of doing is the double hand. And you can be very relaxed. Go to a single hand. You have to stay on top of the beat. You have to work a little harder, and you get those natural kind of accents that aren't blatantly obvious, but it works out great. And
so do you want me to do like the eighth notes, like the regular one at the beginning?
And
then we'll play through once that way. Then we'll play through it with 16s.
Yeah, let's do the intro 4 times. First 2 times will be eighth notes. Second 2 times will be will be the 16th notes.
All right, brother.
So 1, 2, 3, and so hopefully you can hear the difference between just simply going from eighth notes to 16th notes. It's a little more on edge. It's a little more aggressive.
Yeah,
and
I'm not a bass player, and for you to just give me that kind of simple instruction.
Yeah,
good enough. So and someone who's a real bass player should be able to.
Right. No problem. And that just goes to show that when it comes to arranging, you don't need to come up with all these crazy ideas. It's just sometimes the smallest idea, like changing from eighth notes to 16th notes, can be a great arrangement tool.
Simple.
The next song we're going to demonstrate is Never Once. This song is very piano led. Nathan Knuckles is the piano player on the recording, and he's following along the chord progression, but he's got this bouncing technique kind of going on with his right hand, and he's outlining a melody, da 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 da, but he's da 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 da, and there's no delay or anything. It's all just straight up skill, and it's awesome. But what if you got a piano player who can't play that? It's beyond their reach. What do? If you just play the chords, it loses that energy and that that special something about the song. If you're in a trio setting like we've been talking about, what do? You could have the bass player try and play that bouncing effect.
Yeah, it'd take a little while.
They'd have to work at it, and you might not have a bass player who can do that. Single notes is just all that they can do. Right. So you hand the hook line, that melody, over to the bass player, and as a guitar player, you would you'd create that bouncing effect. So 1, 2, 3, and right. So it's a great way to still be dynamically low, but you're still getting the essence of the song. And you could take that intro all the way through the verse, and then, the bass could drop down to, the lower octaves, following the chord
I'd love to
progression.
hear?
What?
Bass guitar with an ebo.
That would be interesting.
Yeah. I don't know why bass players never try the ebo on it.
Maybe they have.
Yeah.
And they've just never put it out there for the public to see.
Yeah.
So, so that's one thing that you could do for that song. And the last example is God is Able. Again, we're going to throw that hook line. Everybody thinks, hook line has to be done by the piano player or the guitar player. No. Utilize the bass player. He's not just there to play the root foundational notes. He can be used as a melodic aspect. So we're going to throw the hook line over to the bass again, but how I talked about knowing your pedal board and knowing what effects are possible with your band members, instead of just playing straight distortion, I'm going to use a tremolo. And we've got this set up so it's just 100% mix. It's a hard tremolo, and we've got that. And that just, again, helps bring a new element to it. So, and B, yeah, cool. So 1, 2, 3, and... Yeah. So, it's amazing what you can do with some effects and just throwing the right parts to the right people.
Sweet deal.
Yeah. Okay. So, I hope you guys have gleaned a lot from these examples and what we talked about.
Yeah, man.
All right.
I got a little bit of a game for you. We probably won't play the songs, but we just want to get some ideas. What would you do
Okay.
if this was who you had playing for you that day? I got some dice here, and you can roll it up, and we got little pictures of bass. So to this way, you would have a bass, a drummer, and a singer. All right. It could happen.
Yeah.
You could.
Okay.
And if you pick a bass player, drummer, or singer, the bass player could be a singer as well too. Okay?
Right. Okay. So you could have just 2 people show up.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So this is for arranging on the fly.
Arranging on the fly. Here we go.
I'll do one at a time. Come on, number 7. We got
Violin.
violin, drums, and bass.
Bass, violin, drums.
Okay.
Who's going to hit the chord structures?
So depending on the level of ability for my violin player, there might be kind of not quite arpeggios, but kind of maybe doing like maybe some double stops or
Double stop, bro.
double stops or arpeggiating the double
Keep it
stops.
simple, right?
Right. So you have them pick
Just double stops.
root and third.
Yeah.
And just go ba da 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 as an effect instead of solid double stops.
Done. And so even if we just took your exact same song, Never Once, right? Just like what we did. You know, and put the bouncy in there, and
the bass can do the melody. And
then
then
you got
you got drums, so you got your rhythm
Dynamic,
section,
yeah.
and it's amazing, drums and bass, how hand in hand they go.
yeah.
So yeah, and I would
nice.
just tell my drummer, because we got the violin, just be aware of the dynamics.
Yeah, and you know, our bass player is a singer. Okay,
Right.
Our bass player, he can sing really
Right.
well, and so there we go. Let's
Yeah.
grab another set.
All right, let's see what else we could do.
Come on, ukulele, electric
Electric.
guitar,
Two electrics.
yeah,
and a
and a
violin.
Oh, that would be a killer set, eh?
That would be interesting.
What happens if it was an electric violin too?
Then
That'd
you
be killer.
then you could have effects. So with the 2 electrics, I would tell the electrics, do not play the same chord same chord shapes. In our video when we're talking about how to play with 2 acoustics, we're talking about separation and giving space. Same rules apply for electric. Maybe not using a capo, maybe you could, but just one being up high, one being down low. Dedicating parts. So one's chunking along, can create rhythm. The other one could be doing hook lines or filling out a little more part.
Yeah. I would do it this way. I put him on pads. So
Right.
he'd be playing pads and bass or note, like
Yeah.
more of like a lower ring. And then
Utilizing a volume pedal, reverb.
he's
yeah.
going to play up top and he's going to play upper thirds.
Okay. Yeah.
And then hook,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
Hook and accents for the violin.
Yeah.
He can even do arpeggio on there, but
Yeah.
yeah. So one guy is just going to have that, you know, a real ambient kind of
Yeah.
love. Man, that'd be killer.
Yeah. And even if you had your ambient guitar and your violin, like busting out the melody
Oh, that'd be killer.
prior, that'd be cool.
And he'd be more percussive.
Yeah, and even
Yeah.
just a lot of palm muting.
Palm,
And
you put a lot of compression on your
Yeah.
guitar here. No compression on the violins.
If I was at a rehearsal, I'd be telling my violin player, look at some Dave Matthews stuff. See, Boyd Tinsley, the violin player for Dave Matthews, electric violin, and he's doing a lot of shots. He's adding a lot to the band, and even their setup is a little unique. So, drawing inspiration.
I use this as like a strings in general. You know, we don't get to see strings too much in our some of our daily worship settings that
Live
we have,
strings.
but for sure, I love
Yeah.
having. I get chances to play with violin players and cello players. It's awesome.
Yeah. It's a great and very different way of thinking.
Yeah, and they have, when they're thinking about an arrangement, most of the time I write out a lot of the notes for them. So they want, you know, for a quick, hey, we're just going to do a quick read and sit with you. They're expecting you to have it out, or a lot of them can improvise, but most of them are, hey, just write me out a chart of sorts. And so, I know how to do that.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, thanks for taking care of the show, man.
Yeah,
You
no
did
worries.
awesome. A lot of information. Next week, we're going to be doing some of those intro to jazz chords. So, like when you see, like say, G sharp minor, flat 5. Okay, minor 7, flat 5.
Yeah.
I know exactly how to play that all the time, but there's a lot of people that would just say, okay, that's on the chart. I'm not going to play that chord.
Right. Or dumb it down and Oh, I'm going
G sharp minor.
G sharp minor.
Yeah, but the flat 5 was so important.
Yeah.
But
they don't realize that, right?
No. So we're going to show you really easy ways of doing that. We see a lot of them in Christmas songs, and so we're going to do some Christmas songs.
Because it's
playthroughs.
Christmas time.
Yeah.
Christmas time.
Keep on strumming.
Yeah. And have fun.
Yeah.